Hello everybody, welcome to Build or Buy. We're going to be looking at a new printer today. This is a Canon Image Class 249dw. It's an all-in-one laser, and I'm a big fan of lasers. I'll tell you what I like and what I don't like. I don't like inkjets. I think the ink's too expensive for what you get. We were told one time at Comdex the printer ink that you're buying for those inkjets is like paying $10,000 a gallon, for a 50-gallon drum. And by the gallon, that's a ridiculous price. What I also don't like about inkjets is you got to use them. They'll dry out. And sometimes with some of them I've been burned on, they've got a timer on them that even if they're still good, they won't use. Can't print with them. I like a laser. It's good today. It's good tomorrow. It's good 10 years from now. When I get ready to print, it'll print. And the original, for what it's worth, the original printers that HP had out had Canon engines in them. So I'm a fan of Canon. I like Canon cameras and I like Canon printers. So we're going to look at this Canon Image Class MF249dw. So this is going to be an unboxing and setup. First thing we'll do is cut the top open. Picture on top shows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on what to do. Number one, open the box, pull the top off, pull the packing out. There's going to be, looks like a cable we're going to see. Looks like power cable. Then there's going to be some packing on it we pull off. And then there's a couple of, looks like tabs on the bottom we need to watch out for, and that's where we grab it by. And then we'll pull it out of the box. So what I'll probably do is, because space is limited, I'll set this box on the ground, pull it out, set it up on the table. Okay, we open the lid on this thing. We'll find we got a manual here we're going to look at for the Image Class Canon printer. We've got this documentation here we're going to look at, and interesting is there's a driver disc, which is good to have, phone cable, but there is no USB cable. So we'll set those two items aside, pull the top out of the box. So we're going to reach in, pick it up by the bottom, set it up here on the table. Let's see if we can get a better view of that. We're going to take the bag off of it gingerly. Remember, always save your box and packing material. If for some reason there's a problem with the device, it doesn't work the way you want, or if you have to send it for service, you're going to need that packing material. We've got lots of plastic to pull off. A couple of tabs on the outside. We'll grab it by the side and turn it around to the front. There's the cover on the keypad. Pull that off. Piece of cardboard. Always lots of cardboard, well packed. And if you'll notice, the hand grips for this are on the side. There's one on each side, and that's what I grabbed it by. Now we've got a sheet here. Gonna open the lid up. Still have some tape on it. Let's get this tape off the other side. And there's a tag here on the side, and I'll read it to you. And it says specifically, do not connect the USB cable before installing the software. Good to know. And I'm going around the printer. We'll spin this on around at the back. We'll take a look here at the back. There's still some more tape. Anywhere you see these little kind of this reddish brown tabs, we've got to pull all this tape off. This is so the printer will ship securely. And again, this is a multi-function device. For those that wonder why you need a fax machine, if I have to explain it, I don't guess it'd do any good. Some of us need a fax machine. It's one of those things I don't use very often, but when I need a fax machine, I need it like right now. I use a fax machine maybe at the most 4 times a year. But when I need it at that moment. So that's what we're replacing is our fax machine. Multifunction. Panel on the top looks like it's been forced a little bit. See if I can get that free. There we go. That was bent in. Came that way. I got that back up. I'm looking around inspecting. Door on the back for jams. Another piece of tape, which is the tape here on the side. Told us do not plug it in until you've got the software installed. So we'll take that sticker off. And all the business right there with USB plug, the network plug for the Cat 5, RJ45, then you got your RJ11 for your phone in and out, and then the power plug. And come to think of it, okay, power cable was in the bottom of the box. There's the power cable. And it just so happens I've got a USB cable, so that's not a big deal. Be nice if they included it, but they don't. Didn't include a network cable, but I wouldn't expect that either. But I've got that covered too. Now I'm plugged into a UPS with all the equipment. While we're doing this, you want to keep in mind that when you're using a printer on a UPS, you do not want to plug in to a UPS outlet that keeps the device online. It'll zap the UPS. The UPS will have another plug on the side where it will protect it from any kind of strikes, but you don't want it on the UPS side, or you'll zap your UPS to drain it out. UPSs are not powerful enough to keep a device like this on when it's running. We'll spin it on around. Found some more tape. Pull the paper out in between. Another piece of tape. So I'm inspecting everything. Door on the side. Lid looks good. Get it back around to the front. Now I'm going to, should be able to open that up. Some more tape off the bottom. We'll open the top, and there should be a latch. There we are. That just opens right up. So we want to open this. Let me come back out just up a little bit. Open the top, which we've done. Number 2. More tape. It's pretty neat the way that all just folds right in. I like that. So we'll pull this lid up. We've got to remove this, the packing material inside. Let's see if I can get a camera up here where we can take a look at this inside. Let's look at this on camera number 2. We'll look down inside. We've got this piece of paper here to pull out. We've got these tabs to pull out. There's one on each side. So number 1, take out these blocks. We pull out those 2 blocks of styrofoam packing. Put those on the side. Then we've got to remove the cartridge. So I'm going to set this down to do that. Supposed to be able to reach in there and pull that cartridge out. So the cartridge is removed. Tab is still there showing that it's brand new. I'm going to set that just aside for the second, because I've got to pull this orange plastic out. There's that orange plastic. That has to come out. So the orange plastic's out. We've done step 1 and 2. Step number 3, we pulled out the 2 plastic tabs, which is this stuff. We pulled the cartridge out, which is sitting right over here. And here's the cartridge. And it still has the 2 orange pieces. We'll pull those in a minute when we're ready to insert. I'll leave that sitting right there. We pull this piece out, which is step number 3. And now step number 5, we need to prepare the cartridge, which is actually 4, 5, and 6. So we're going to rotate the cartridge back and forth to get the ink distributed evenly. Let me do that. So as we look at the cartridge, a lot of times what you'll do, because this is a starter cartridge, is you'll not only do it this way, but they talk about doing it this way. So we'll get that ink distributed evenly across that head. Sometimes this helps, but they said do it this way. So we'll do it this way several times. And if you ever move your printer, once you started using the ink, be sure and remove the ink cartridge. Otherwise, if any of this spills, you'll have a mess and literally have to throw the printer away. It's too much trouble to clean it. And we don't open that. We don't want to look at it because that's photosensitive. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take these 2 tabs and pull them off according to the order. Now, step 4, we shook it. Step 5, we pull the tab on the front, which is this little orange tab right here. Pull this first, and then we'll pull the zip on the side. The zip on the side will expose the cartridge so the printer can use it. And this keeps the cartridge from making contact right here, right there. So we're going to pull that off. And that just snaps right off. Pull that off. Now we're ready to pull this tab, and that will unseal the ink. So again, we're ready to go. Once we pull that, this is step 7. Pull that straight out. That exposes the ink. And that needs to go in the trash somewhere because the other part of that, the bottom of it, has got ink on it. So you don't want to put that just anywhere. Okay, so now we're ready to put the ink back in. And as we read it, this is a cartridge, 137 starter cartridge. You can get another cartridge, probably about 65 bucks. Drop that down inside. It opens the door as it goes in. Let me get another camera over here and I'll show you. Okay, as we drop that cartridge in, that tab folds back to expose that ink so it sits down there like it needs to, and it just locks right in. So if you can see how that locks in. We should be able to close the printer, well, which we did. First thing we want to do is close the lid, which we've done, and close this secondary lid. That's down. I need to get the bag off the bottom. I believe this printer has enough room to hold a ream of paper, and I was concerned about the size of the footprint in the space that it's going to occupy. So now I've got to find a suitable place to plug it in. Times like this are why you need a computer that has access to a disk. Otherwise, you'd have to go download it, which might be a good idea anyway. You'll have the most current version. Even talks about Macintosh driver software. So image class MF240 series. So we have the driver disk. So 2 things we need to do now is we need to get us a USB cable and we need to plug in power. And I want to have those 2 things ready when I get ready driver installation. Okay, I just happen to have a cable, USB cable, see where we're at for the printer. And I've got to get power. Okay, now we're going to go to the next step and we're going to download the driver. So we're going to go over here to computer number 1. Here we go. We're going to go to Canon's site. And instead of using a CD, which we could do, and we're going to download the drivers. Support Canon MF240. Might as well get the manual while we're at it. We're going to go for drivers, and I'm going to create a folder on the drive. I keep my stuff organized so I can find it. Downloads, public downloads, incoming, and this will go under drivers. I'm going to create a folder, Canon MF249dw. That's where the drivers are going to go once we download them. So we're going to go for drivers, Windows 64-bit, recommended drivers, and an optional driver from February of 2017. And right now we're dealing with January the 27th, so these drivers are a year old, which is fine. A PCL6 driver, good to have. Windows 64-bit generic PCL6. It's very good to have. So all we're going to do is get the main driver, which is the recommended 64-bit. Should give us everything we need, 193.1 meg. We're going to do a download. We'll save the file. Driver's downloaded. So I'm going to take it and put it where I keep drivers. Right click, cut. I'll go to my public downloads, incoming, drivers, Canon, put it in its folder. Now I'm going to execute those drivers and install them. So right now I'm doing this to a laptop. Once I've installed this, made sure it works okay and I'm satisfied with it, then what I'll do is put it in its place and hook it up for the primary computer that's going to use it to work with the USB cable. Right now I'm just going to install these drivers to this laptop so we can make sure this all works and go through the function of it. Now this will print on regular bond paper. This will print on envelopes one at a time, but if you're using the heavy stock paper, it will not print on that. You've got to stick with the regular, and this is 20-pound paper. This is the weight. This happens to be HP OfficeJet. Whenever I buy paper, I always bought it by the case. Got a good deal on this a long time ago. I'm down, I've got 2 reams left, and a ream is 500 sheets. And this is supposed to, I think, take a ream. If it doesn't, it'll take a half a ream. We're going to find out. The first thing we want to do is get the drivers down, get them installed. That's what we're getting ready to do. So let's go back over to this computer and let's install these drivers. Now 3 things we're going to need to do once we get these drivers installed. Number 1, we'll put power to the printer. Number 2, we'll plug in the USB cable. And number 3, we'll print. Now this is running off the HP Envy 17T laptop, so that's a spinning hard drive. So it's going to take a little while for those drivers to get installed. But once they're there, I've got them. And I could literally pull those drivers through the network and get them installed on another computer, which we may do. Drivers are self-extracting, going to someplace on the C drive. I don't need to see the README file. Let's just do it. And as far as getting newer drivers than what I've got, and I can do a USB connection or a network connection. And this is a network model, but I'm going to use the USB connection. So I'm going to go to next. Now back to the drivers, noticing the date of the drivers, and this is the first issue of these drivers. The drivers are not any newer than what's going to be on this disk. That's fine. But we've verified. It's just an FYI. If you don't have a CD burner or a DVD burner on your machine, then downloading the drivers are your best option. So while those drivers are running, I've verified myself. I've got power over here, and I'm going to spin the printer around while that driver's installing, and I'm going to take a look at my connections. So we're going to plug in the power cable. We're just plugging in the cable to the printer. And while I'm at it, to make it easy for myself, I'm going to go ahead and connect my USB cable to the printer. I'll power the printer on, and then I'll connect the other end to the computer. So there's my 2 cables. That's going to go to the computer. That's going to go to the printer. And that USB cable, I believe, just happens to be Triplite. If you'd asked me without looking at it, I said Belkin. 2 main cables are plugged in. I'm going to spin the printer back around so I have the front of it looking at me. So my connections will be to the rear. So now I'm ready for power, and I've got my USB cable. Okay, so now we've got the printer plugged in, and we're going to go back over to the computer for just a second. Let's read the menu and see what it tells us. Okay, I've zoomed in, and this says for the multifunction drivers, connect the device with a USB cable. Copying of driver files is complete. To finish the installation, connect the device to your computer. Connect the device to your computer using a USB cable and then turn on the device. Cannot confirm. Well, I haven't turned it on yet. So we're going to move this over just a tad. We're going to plug in that connection to the computer to a USB port. We've got that plugged in. Now, I think we're just about ready to turn that on. Power button's right down here on the front. We're going to turn it on. It's coming on. Let's go over here to the computer. Printer's still looking, and it's set up for language, so it wants me to do all that good stuff. I need to run the setup. Let's see if we can zoom in on that. We're going to go for English. English okay, yes. United States. Open the toner cover and remove any orange packing material. We did that, but since it's asking, let's double check that. Make sure we're good to go. Open the top, open the tray, and I see no orange packing material. That all looks good to me. So we'll drop that back down. Tab here on the right side puts that down. Now we'll put the lid down. It looks like we're good to go. I'll zoom back in on that. So I'm going to click on next. Check that the tabs and pieces of tape are removed from the toner cartridges. We did that. Check that paper is loaded into the drawer. We'll open the drawer. Let's zoom back out. Okay, I'm going to open the drawer. Pull that mechanism out, open that mechanism up. Now that's not going to take a full ream of paper. That might take 250 sheets, but it won't take 500. Some paper is sold as a ream of 250, but a ream is typically 500. So I'm going to gingerly open this ream of paper up. I'll get just under half of it. Okay, so as far as I can tell, a little awkward loading, but we got it in there. Slowness more of the user. I've never used this particular printer, so we're learning together. So we got paper loaded in. It looks like we're good to go. Check the papers loaded in drawer number 1. So apparently this can stack with another drawer on it. Good to know. And we've got a door we can pull down and close that to keep the paper protected. Now if we go back over to the computer says the device is connected to your computer. Multifunction drivers will be installed with plug and play. Click exit to exit the wizard. So I'm going to click exit. Apparently we have the drivers installed. So I'll minimize everything we had. Okay, now we've got our drivers installed. So what we'll do is we'll finish with the menus on the printer. And the question being, check papers loaded in drawer 1, click next. We got to pick our time zone. Eastern time, US, Central time. Here we are. Had to go up 1 page. Current time set. It'd be nice if it could pull time from the computer, but apparently it's not going to do that. So we'll set the time zone. Well, it wants the date first. 1/27. The printer will stay focused. 1/27/2018. And it is 4:47 p.m. Apply. Do you want to use the wireless LAN to connect to the network? The settings can be configured later. I'm going to say no, not right now. Current time set. Must recharge battery for 24 hours to save time settings after turning main power off and on to apply other settings. Be sure to leave the main power on for at least 24 hours. Interesting. So where I've got this plugged in and set, I need to leave it right now. Otherwise, if I move this printer to its new home, it needs to sit here for 24 hours. Or else what I've just done to set the time, I get to redo. That's exciting. Glad to know that. So the time is set, and we are back home, and it looks like it's ready to do whatever I want to do with it. Good to know. So on the menu, I've got copy, scan, fax, address book menu. I've got paper set, paper save, home settings, scan PC1, scan PC2, ID card copy, direct connection, One Touch, then on page 4, One Touch 2, One Touch 4, One Touch 3, and coded dial. Back to menu, output report, network settings, preferences, timer settings, common settings, page 1. Page 2 in the menu, copy settings, fax settings, scan settings, printer settings. Page 3, adjustment maintenance, system maintenance settings. Go back up to page 1. To get out of those menus, I press the back button right here. So what I want to do is I want to go to the computer and I'm going to call up an application. Let's say just, I don't know, anything. And let's see if it'll print. Something simple. Let's go download the manual. Let's see if we can get a PDF out of this user's guide. So I'll select that. Yep, that's a PDF. We'll view it. Once it views, then we'll click up here and we'll do a save right up here in the right hand corner. Download, save it. So we zoom back out and go back over here to support. And one of those new features with Firefox. Not interested. Okay, so that's the first file, the user's guide. Let's get the getting started guide. That's a PDF. So view it. Same thing. Once it's downloaded, it looks like it's 72 pages. We'll click download, save the file. Let's go back over to the menu. Now what I'm curious about is this first online version, and that is, yeah, online. It says we can download it. Let's see if it'll download. It may just open the document. Yeah, that's not going to do what I want. I want something that's on a hard drive that's there when I need it. So let's go over to these functions. So let me zoom in, show you where we're at. Up here at the top, click on this. We're going to open the folder. And I keep everything organized so I can find stuff. So I'll take those 2 documents. I'm going to cut them, and I'm going to take them to public downloads. These are files that I've created, PDF files. I'll create a folder later. Right now I'm just going to put them in this folder. I'm going to change the view to details. That's what I want. Okay, so I'm going to call up the user's guide first. And a page that would be helpful, I'll hold down the control key, and on my mouse wheel, I'll scroll forward. And let's look at the network. That would be helpful to have. Connect to a network, page 315. Viewing network settings. Customize the machine for more convenient experience. Connecting to a network. Before you get started, check computer settings. I'm looking for a page that'd be easy to print out that might come in handy. Set the IP address as necessary. That's a good idea. That'll all be easy to find. Let's stick to our original primary target and let's print a page out. This page looks good. So let's do a Control P for print, and we're going to print the current page only, which is, this is what it'll look like. Microsoft Print to PDF. We're going to change our printer, and there's our Canon generic fax driver, the Canon MF240, and then all the other drivers we have. There's an HP driver. HP must have put that on the computer. Okay, so we'll check the Canon MF240. Reformats a little bit, 8.5 by 11, and again the current page. So let's print. Let's see what we get. and we'll get a page coming through, and we got a page. Prints. Looks good. Print pretty fast too. I'd say that's a keeper. That's the first step. So that's the first step, getting this printer set up. Right now we have it talking, so we know the printer works, we know the driver is good that we've downloaded, and we're printing through the USB cable. The next thing we'll do is we'll get this in its home where it's supposed to go, even if I do it tonight and I have to reset the time and date. And for me, the way I use the printer is the old way we've always done it. You take the printer, you hook it up to a computer, then you network it across, but that primary computer has to always be on. The way we can network printers now, because that function is built in and not an additional feature, is the printer can be connected to the network. It just needs to be plugged into the switch. And whether the primary computer that has the drivers on or not, doesn't matter, because any computer can connect to it. It doesn't have to connect through the primary computer. So that's kind of a neat thing. And the printer's gone into energy saving mode. So if you'll notice, I'll zoom back over here. It's got a little green light for energy saver right there. So that was kind of cool. So that's the Canon multifunction printer. It's black. It's got a document feeder on top, and you can also scan single pages. And if you scan single pages, it's going to be 8.5 by 11. So if you've got to do 8.5 by 14, send it through the document feeder. Something to think about. If you've got any questions about this, you want to see some more, and if you'd like to see us go the next step, hooking up the network, let us know. I hope you enjoyed this. This is Builder Buy, and thanks for watching. We appreciate if you'd subscribe. Have a great day.